We're just a few days away from Hockey Valley roaring with fans. Welcome into a men's hockey edition of Penn State Sports Night. I'm Ethan Ellis alongside Josh Bartosik and Jacob Cheris. So Jacob, let's start with you. The Nittany Lions are seeing a lot of players come back defensively, but there's going to be some uncertainty at the goalie position with the departure of Oscar Audio. How do you see this defense playing this season?
I think maybe uncertainty is maybe the wrong word, but there's question marks in goal, and it's really about, is Liam Soliere a legit number one goaltender for the Nittany Lions? Last year, 7-7-1, 288 goals against, and a 905 save percentage. That's respectable considering the fact that he was splitting time with Oscar Audio as a 1A, 1B tandem. Soliere's the guy now, right? And the last time Penn State had a proven number one goalie was back in the Peyton Jones era. His last season, he played 30 games. The question is, can Liam Soliere carry that load and be good enough to get Penn State back to where it wants to be, which is get another Big Ten championship in their program history? Now, with Soliere, he said at preseason media that starting in the Big Ten tournament against Ohio State was a big confidence builder for him. The big thing for me that I think he needs to improve upon along with that confidence is his rebound control. That's really the one thing that stood out to me that he really struggled with was his rebound control and getting on, making sure his angles were good, sealing off the post. So it's a question. I think the more he plays, I think he'll get better, but Penn State doesn't really necessarily need elite goaltending to be good. They just need Soliere to be serviceable in order for Penn State to succeed.
I mean, I think he can be pretty serviceable. I mean, like you mentioned, the Big Ten tournament, he had a phenomenal series against Ohio State, played really solid against Minnesota. Unfortunately, they didn't come away with that win. But the goaltending is going to rely heavily on the defensive structure this year, and it's because of the fact that while maybe not on the ice, Adam Pilowitz and Clayton Phillips' loss are huge, but in that locker room, that culture change is massive. Guy Godowski loves talking about the culture of Penn State, and those two guys were huge. He mentioned it at preseason media, how big of a loss they were, and there's going to be a lot of guys who need to step up. Luckily, Paul DeNaples is coming back, but someone that really needs to have a big year defensively is Jimmy Dow Jr. He's one of the better offensive defensemen for Penn State. He loves scoring. He loves creating offensive chances, but his defensive awareness has always been lacking, and I think now, he's coming into his junior year here at Penn State. You want to see a big jump in defensive play for him because he's probably going to be on that second pairing, maybe even the first pairing, depending on how the season plays out. You need better play from him.
Yeah, I agree. The goalie position is going to be really highly contested this year, and it's going to rely heavily on that defense. So it's going to be interesting to watch for sure. But we're also seeing a lot of new players coming to the blue line. Jared Crespo, we've got Dylan Gratton, Carter Shade. So, Josh, who do you see out of those players stepping up for the Nittany Lions?
For me, I think it's Carter Shade. I think coming from the Pittsburgh Penguins elite season and playing where he did for how long he did. He had a career season last year. He's a very solid, really exciting prospect on the blue line to watch. He's very small, he's very fast, but he's also knows how to throw his body around. He's very physical, and he has a heck of a shot. I mean, what a release that guy has. Such great defensive awareness. I could see him realistically by the end of his time here at Penn State being a top pairing defenseman. I think you could put him with either Jimmy Dowd or even Paul DeNaples and have him mold and be crafted into that defenseman that you want because you have those veteran guys that mostly still came back, and he could be a really solid piece for the future. I think he's probably one of the most exciting prospects Penn State's had in a very long time at the defensive position.
Yeah, and Paul DeNaples even compared Carter Shade to Penn State alum Cole Holtz, which I really see the similarity between those two. They play the same way, have that big shot, and can also lay the body. I'm going to go to the forward group. Tor Linden is a guy, when Penn State announced that he was coming over to Happy Valley from RPI, I was ecstatic. This guy led the ECAC with 39 points, was a finalist for ECAC Defensive Forward of the Year. He's an ideal two-way center, and adding him bolsters that center depth because Chase McLean is unlikely to start the season, still dealing with that lower body injury he sustained last year against Notre Dame that kept him out for the entire season. Linden, I think he's going to be a top pair center this year, probably with Ben Copeland, I would say. My second line was probably McMenamin and Linden at the middle, and then Ashton Calder on the right wing. Linden has a great shot, great at finding open ice. That's really the one thing that really stood out to me. So he's the guy that I'm really, really excited to see this year.
Yeah, Penn State definitely has a bright future on the ice with those players, but we've seen the preseason Big Ten coaches poll. We've seen that Minnesota has been ranked as the most likely to win the Big Ten. Notre Dame second, but Penn State's near the back in sixth place. So, Jacob, we'll go back to you. Who do you see winning the Big Ten, and who do you see as maybe a dark horse candidate for the Big Ten?
Well, I think it's pretty clear it's Minnesota. Logan Cooley, the third overall pick. Ryan Chesley, a second-round pick, and you still have guys like Matthew Nyes. But I want to talk about the Michigan State Spartans. I don't think they're going to win the conference. They're not there yet, but I think they're going to take a big jump. They got Miroslav Mucha from Lake Superior, was second on the team in points with 35, and Zach Dubinsky from RPI. The struggle that Michigan State has always had was the lack of offense. And now with the new head coach in the U.S. National Team Development Program, coach Adam Nightingale, Dan DeCole is out after 5 seasons. I think the Spartans have the chance to, I have them at 5th because I really like, I think they're a better built team probably than Penn State because it's mostly about the goaltending that is a question mark for the Nittany Lions. And that's why I have the Spartans above them. I'm really, really looking forward to see what Nightingale brings to that Michigan State offense and really makes them a better overall complete team.
We know, Cheris, for once, I'm actually going to agree with you, and I'm going to have Minnesota at the top. We don't agree on a lot of things, but I mean, the way that they are, you mentioned Logan Cooley, third overall pick, and you still bring Justin Close, who I admit I was not super high on last year, but he definitely showed better flashes in the Big Ten tournament and in the NCAA tournament last year. But going to my next 3, I have Notre Dame at 2. I have Michigan falling a little bit because of the fact that they lost so much firepower. Owen Power's gone, Kent Johnson's gone, Matty Beniers is gone, just to name a few. They fired their head coach because of allegations in the locker room. There's a lot going on there. They're not necessarily this exact same tight group that they once were. And Ohio State, a lot of people had them being really solid this year. You had them at 2. They really struggled this past weekend against Mercyhurst, which is not a strong opponent. And yes, they have Jakob Dobish in net, but if you're struggling against Mercyhurst, which is not only not a good team in women's hockey, it's not a great team in men's hockey either, you're not really going to be competitive in the Big Ten. So unless they clean that up, I don't think they're finishing anywhere above 4.
That'll do it for this week's edition of Men's Hockey on Penn State Sports Night. For Josh Bartosik and Jacob Cheris, I'm Ethan Ellis, and we'll see you next time.
Hey everybody, thank you for tuning into this edition of Penn State Sports Night. We hope you liked that segment.
And we're sure there's other Penn State Sports Night segments that you are going to love as well. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content.
And check us out on social media for updates and behind-the-scenes clips and pics. Follow us on Twitter at PSSN TV and on Instagram at PSU Sports Night to keep up with all the action.
For all of us here at the Belisari Media Center, we are
Penn State Sports Night.